back to my channel. This is Cheyenne, otherwise known as Cozy Shy, and today we're gonna be rebuilding my museum area. If you guys haven't seen one of my previous streams, I did build this area already and I actually hated it, so I took it down. And I'm gonna try and make like a better entrance to my museum. Not sure what I'm gonna do yet, but I'm just gonna mess around with some terraforming and try to place my museum. Like, I don't know, I'll place my museum somewhere and figure it out, but this is the plan. So I'll do the speed build for this. I don't know how long this is gonna take me. It might take me a couple days, but we'll see. So I hope you guys enjoy my museum speed build. Alright, so as always when starting my speed build, I'll prepare the area of interest. So I'm like clearing my pathing right now because I want to put some water down and figure out where I want to get this museum build started. So basically, I got some inspiration from one of my good friends, Ava Evergarden. I will put the reference photo on the screen, which I'm referencing for this like double bridge entrance that I'm right now carving out with my water tool. So you'll see me going back and forth just trying to get the dimensions correct because I want it to be symmetrical. Since I'll have the two bridges meeting up, and then I'll have my museum right at the center after the bridges, and then I'll have like a little island centerpiece, kind of like how Ava had in her build. So yeah, we'll just get through this little portion and then we'll touch base in a minute. Okay, so now I'm just putting down pathing where I want to put the museum. So I'm using two different pathings so I can see the center because the museum, I think it's 5 by 7 spaces, and 7 is not an even number, so I had to make the center 3 spaces wide. And now I'm just clearing the cliff that I had before because whatever, I just didn't want it there. And then I do place the second bridge. I placed the first one already. I think I skipped over that. But I'm putting the second one down just so I can get the spacing right, and then I'll get to putting the museum down. And it's perfectly centered just as I am, like, you know, put down the place markers. I definitely suggest doing that so you don't have to keep time traveling back and forth, so you can get your build perfectly centered. But I eventually do bring the museum 1 block forward, so I have to move it like twice and time travel a couple of days just to make sure it's at the correct like placement, because I wanted to be able to see it better in frame when I take a picture. And I was placing down the statue and fountain so I could get in a better idea of the spacing around everything. Because again, I want this to be pretty symmetrical, so I'm just like running around trying to think like how I should put everything down, if I should move the museum a space forward, which I did eventually do. As you can see here, I'm replacing the museum 1 block forward. And then I'm putting my trees down. I marked where I wanted them with the pathing. And this is where I start to get really happy with how the setup is looking. Like, I like to call it the skeleton of the build. So now I'm just putting down the in-game pathing that I've been using throughout my entire island to mark out the area where I want the walkways to go. So after I put down all of the in-game pathing, I'm going to layer the custom design pathing, the brick pathing I've been using on top of it, which you'll see it'll look like a little, I guess, road or sidewalk per se, which I think will look really nice. Okay, so now I'm gonna start putting little accent tiles, thankfully with the Alex of Fodland. That's the one who created this brown padding. They put little accent pieces, I guess, like with the, what am I trying to say? The fall leaves on top of it, which I really like. So I put those scattered everywhere throughout that padding, and now I'm trying to decide like how I should deal with the waterways on the left and the right, because I just thought they were a little awkward. So I like start expanding it for some reason. I'm like, maybe I can put like a waterfall here, but there's like barely any space. So I end up just patching it back up, or like, yeah, filling it back in with the land, because I'm like, nope, this isn't gonna work. So it's okay. It's like such a big trial and error. This build took me like nearly 3 hours to complete, so it's a lot of back and forth planning and like talking to Ava and seeing how she did the build herself. But nevertheless, it still turned out nice, which you guys will see eventually. Now I'm just cleaning up the area around me, because I want to start placing some items. So now I wanted to build up my museum a little bit so it's not like bland, I guess. So I wanted to add some height to the build because that's just what I've been doing everywhere on my island. So of course I'm using the usual wedding pipe organs, antique wardrobes, and then I'll get some simple panels and record boxes eventually to mimic a building. So as I decided to go with this light brick brick pattern, I guess, because it matches the museum like perfectly. So I thought that would make sense next to the museum. And now I'm trying to decide how I can better frame the area, so I'm experimenting with the different fencing because I've seen people layer two fencings together before and it looked really nice, but I eventually decide not to do the layered fencing because I thought it looked better with just the iron fencing, because I felt like with the hedge it was too tall and you couldn't see the iron fencing behind it unless you were looking at a higher angle, which I didn't really like, so I ended up just doing the iron fencing, which you'll see later on in the build. Now I'm just trying to decide what accessory items to use, because like for this item or this island, it is set in the fall. So I've been putting like pumpkins everywhere. I just think the pumpkin items are really cute. So I was like checking between like that spooky tower you see there, and then eventually I'm like experimenting with the what is it called? The spooky lantern, and I turn them around so you don't see the spooky face, like the little jack-o'-lantern face. So it just looks more clean put together for this area, because it's not like I'm in Halloween time yet. Like I'm playing in November currently, so I'm just kind of going with the fall vibes. And what I think is so cute, like on the record boxes, one of the windows has a tiny little pumpkin there. So cute. I love it. And if you are curious about the codes I use, you can find them in my card link in the description. I have almost all of them there. If you don't see one that's there, it's because I can't find it. I'm trying to get better at saving codes, so please bear with me. I am not like a magician and can magically come up with the codes again. I apologize, but anytime I do find them, I'll definitely add them to my card. So now I'm trying to decide how I want to frame the museum in front. Like I said earlier, I was experimenting between the spooky tower or just the like turkey day stand and the spooky lantern on top of it. And I guess I did end up just doing the spooky tower because it looked a lot cleaner and less bulky. And now I'm just trying to figure out how to do the landscaping. I wish I had more custom design space because I would have loved to use Colin Crossing's leaf path pattern underneath the fountain, because I thought that would have filled the space perfectly, but unfortunately I have like zero custom design space to do that. So I just put some like little leaf codes around and just tried to fill it up. I might eventually change it and put some brick underneath just to fill the space more, because I'm just such a person who likes to fill every single space with something, and if I don't, it just doesn't look complete. I don't know, but that's something I can figure out later. So now I'm just framing the area more with some trees, the fencing, and some flowers. And I also did get some of the, holly bushes because I was thinking maybe I could put some holly bushes everywhere, which you'll see me do eventually, but I guess now I'm just fixing up the pathing. Now I'm just grabbing some flowers to place in front of the fencing because I felt like that was a good height difference so you can still see the fencing and the pretty flowers in front of it. And then I'm like going back and forth between using the holly bushes or the flowers. And I'm just like experimenting at this point. I do time travel a few days in advance just to see the bushes outgrown, and I was like, ew, no thanks. It just looked weird to me, so I end up changing it back to flowers, which again you'll see eventually. I just felt like the holly bushes were like oversaturating the area, so I had to like tone it down a little bit. Now I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do my little centerpiece. I go back and forth with a couple of items, but then eventually I do settle on, I think it was the Turkey Day stand and the like little festive candle item with the acorns and stuff because it looked really cute. Oh yeah, this is the part where I'm like, ew, the holly bushes do not look good, so I switch it back to the flowers because they just didn't look right to me. Maybe it will look better like in the winter, but just not for this island. I'm just like dumping them to the side because I'm like, no thanks, not for me. We're not doing this today. Okay, I guess I didn't put flowers there. I completely forgot. I swear I did. I know this is my own build, but I still forget what I do on my island. Do you guys ever get lost on your islands? Because I feel like I still get lost on mine sometimes. I get like turned around. So I just put some accessory items like a little bench for you to sit down, a bike as if you're like parking your bike and want to go explore the museum for the day. And then I put flowers in the front here to frame the area in front of the fountain. And then I have the street lamps on either side, just again to go with the symmetry of the build. So now I'm getting towards the end of the build, but I still was put off by the holly bushes, so I was trying to figure out what items to put there instead of the bush, which I do eventually grab, you'll see in a bit, but I'm just kind of like filling in the areas because again, I still feel like it's incomplete. I should really go back and add some pathing underneath the fountain because I just feel like it's just not, it doesn't look how I want it to look completely, but I'm still happy with the build regardless. So now I'm finally switching out the little holly bushes with some accessory items, and this is basically the last portion of the speed build. Alrighty, that is it for my museum speed build. Thank you to Ava Evergarden for giving me the inspiration for this build. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really good. I like my little centerpiece and the little roads that I have to the side. I can just jump around and show you guys if you kind of missed it throughout the speed builds, but I have these little roads surrounding the museum just to complement the area. I'll finish like the rest of the transition stuff another time, but as far as the build itself, I think it looks really good, and honestly I'm really happy with it. If you guys did enjoy the speed build, go ahead and give my video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!